What kind of person chains a gate shut on someone else's property, smirking as if they've won a war? That's what I wondered the morning I found my lake driveway blocked. A heavy padlock glinting in the sun, mocking me. My name's Tom Heller, and I've lived on this quiet stretch of Lakeview Lane for 20 years. My cabin nestled between whispering pines and the shimmering water. The driveway, my only access to the lake, was now sealed by a chain, and I knew exactly who was behind it: HOA Karen, the self-appointed queen of the neighborhood's Homeowners Association. She'd been a thorn in my side since she moved in 5 years ago, her oversized personality as unyielding as her oversized frame. She'd turned our peaceful lakeside community into her personal fiefdom, barking orders about lawn heights and mailbox colors. But this was personal. I stared at the chain, my blood simmering, and vowed to find out why she thought she could lock me out of my own land. The lake was my sanctuary, where I'd spent countless evenings fishing with my late wife, Sarah, her laughter still echoing in the ripples. I wasn't about to let Karen steal that from me. I marched up the hill to Karen's house, a gaudy McMansion that clashed with the rustic charm of the lake. She was outside, directing a landscaper with the intensity of a drill sergeant. "HOA," I called, my voice sharp. She turned, her eyes narrowing like a hawk spotting prey. "What's this about my driveway?" I demanded, pointing down the hill. She crossed her arms, her lips curling into a smug grin. "Your driveway? Oh, Tom, that's HOA property now. We voted to secure it for the community clubhouse." My jaw tightened. The clubhouse, a pet project she'd rammed through last year, built on a plot of land I'd always assumed was public. "You can't just chain my access," I said, stepping closer. She didn't flinch. "Check the bylaws. Tom, you didn't show up to the meeting, so you don't get a say." Her tone was venomous, dripping with triumph. I felt the ground shift beneath me, not just from anger, but from a nagging suspicion. I'd inherited this land from my father, and I knew every inch of it. Something wasn't right. Back at my cabin, I dug through a dusty box of documents, my heart pounding as I searched for the old property deed. Sarah used to handle the paperwork. She was the organized one, but I remembered her mentioning something about the land extending beyond the driveway. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the yellowed paper, the surveyor's map crisp despite its age. There it was, in black ink. My property line stretched clear across the lakefront, right under where the clubhouse now stood. Karen's precious clubhouse was on my land. The realization hit like a thunderbolt. She hadn't just blocked my driveway. She'd built her empire on ground I legally owned. I leaned back in my chair, a slow smile spreading across my face. This wasn't just about a chain anymore. I had leverage, and I was going to use it. The next morning, I called my old friend Mike, a lawyer who'd handled property disputes for decades. "Tom, this is gold," he said, chuckling as he reviewed the deed over coffee at my kitchen table. "The HOA didn't do their due diligence. You've got a slam dunk case to reclaim that land." My pulse raced, but doubt crept in. Taking on Karen meant taking on the entire HOA board, her loyal minions who nodded at her every command. Still, the thought of her smug face when I dropped this bombshell was too tempting. Mike drafted a letter demanding the HOA remove the chain and vacate the clubhouse, citing my deed. I hand-delivered it to Karen's doorstep, her eyes widening as she scanned the page. "This is nonsense," she spat, crumpling the letter. "You'll hear from our lawyer." But her voice wavered, and I saw the first crack in her armor. Days later, The HOA's response came a flimsy claim that the land was communally acquired through an obscure clause. Mike laughed it off. "They're bluffing," he said. "Let's take it to court." But before we could, I got a call from Mrs. Delaney, a sweet retiree who lived across the lake. Her voice was hushed, like she was afraid of being overheard. "Tom, you need to know something. Karen's been lying about the HOA funds. She's been skimming money for that clubhouse, thousands of dollars." My heart stopped. Mrs. Delaney had been at every meeting, quiet but observant. She'd seen Karen fudge the numbers, redirecting dues to her pet project. This wasn't just about my land anymore. It was about exposing a fraud. The twist hit me hard. Karen wasn't just a bully. She was a thief. I met Mrs. Delaney at her cozy cottage, where she showed me a stack of receipts and meeting minutes she'd secretly copied. The numbers didn't add up. $20,000 labeled as maintenance had gone straight to the clubhouse's fancy renovations. My anger flared, but so did my resolve. If I was going to take Karen down, I needed allies. I started knocking on doors, talking to neighbors who'd been intimidated into silence by Karen's reign. Slowly, they opened up stories of her threats, her fines for minor infractions, her obsession with control. By the end of the week, I had a small army. Mrs. Delaney, a young couple tired of Karen's rules, and even old Mr. Jenkins, who'd once been her ally but was fed up with her lies. The confrontation came at the next HOA meeting, held in the very clubhouse built on my land. The room buzzed with tension as I stood up, holding my deed high. "This clubhouse is on my property," I said, my voice steady, "and I'm giving you 1 week to tear it down." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen shot to her feet, her face red. "You're lying. This is HOA property," she screamed. But I was ready. I passed out copies of the deed, watching her allies squirm. Then I dropped the second bomb. "And while we're at it, let's talk about the missing $20,000. I handed out Mrs. Delaney's evidence, and the room erupted. Neighbors shouted questions. Karen's voice grew shrill, her excuses unraveling. For the first time, she looked small, cornered. I felt a surge of triumph, but it was bittersweet. This wasn't just about winning, it was about justice for everyone she'd bullied. Karen's composure crumbled as the meeting turned chaotic. She tried to shout over the crowd, but the neighbors weren't listening anymore. Mr. Jenkins stood, his voice gravelly but firm. "I trusted you, Karen, but this is too far. We deserve answers." Her eyes darted, searching for an escape, but there was none. I stepped forward, holding her gaze. "Remove the chain from my driveway by tomorrow, or I'm filing for eviction of the clubhouse." Her lips trembled, but she said nothing. The meeting ended with the board promising an investigation. But I knew the real battle was just beginning. Karen wasn't the type to go down quietly. The next day, I woke to find the chain gone. But Karen wasn't done. She'd rallied her loyalists, spreading rumors that I was trying to destroy the community. Signs popped up around the neighborhood, "Save our clubhouse." I felt the weight of their glares as I walked to the lake. But I wasn't backing down. Mike filed the lawsuit, and the court date was set for a month later. In the meantime, Karen doubled down, hosting a community rally at the clubhouse to paint me as the villain. I showed up, uninvited, with Mrs. Delaney and our allies. The crowd was smaller than Karen expected. Her influence was slipping. When she spotted me, her face twisted with rage. "You're tearing us apart, Tom," she shouted, pointing a trembling finger. I held up the deed. "You built your castle on my land, Karen. You tore this community apart long before I did." A murmur ran through the crowd, and I saw doubt in their eyes. For the first time, they were questioning her. The twist came a week before the court date. "Mrs. Delaney called me in a panic. Tom, Karen's trying to sell the clubhouse land to a developer." My stomach dropped. She'd forged documents claiming the HOA owned the land outright, hoping to cash out before the lawsuit concluded. It was a desperate move, and it lit a fire in me. Mike and I worked late into the night, gathering evidence to block the sale. We found the developer's contact and sent them the real deed, stopping the deal cold. When Karen learned her plan had failed, she showed up at my cabin, her face a mask of fury. "You'll regret this," she hissed, but I saw fear in her eyes. She was losing everything: her power, her reputation, her control. The courtroom was packed the day of the hearing. Karen sat with her lawyer, her usual bravado replaced by a nervous tick in her jaw. I presented my deed, the surveyor's map, and Mrs. Delaney's evidence of the HOA's financial misconduct. The judge's ruling was swift: the land was mine. The clubhouse had to be vacated, and Karen was ordered to repay the misappropriated funds. The gavel fell, and the room was silent except for Karen's sharp intake of breath. She stood, her shoulders slumped, and walked out without a word. The neighbors who'd once feared her now looked away, their loyalty gone. The clubhouse was dismantled the following week, its wooden beams carted off as the lake reclaimed its quiet beauty. I stood by the water, the chain long gone, feeling Sarah's presence in the breeze. I'd won. But it wasn't about the land, it was about standing up to a bully who'd preyed on our community. In the months that followed, the neighborhood changed. We elected a new HOA board, one that listened instead of dictated. Mrs. Delaney became treasurer, her sharp eyes ensuring every penny was accounted for. I opened my driveway to the neighbors, letting kids fish off the dock and families picnic by the lake. The scars Karen left faded, replaced by barbecues and laughter, the kind of community Sarah would have loved. I learned something through it all: bullies like Karen thrive on silence. But when you stand together, their power crumbles. I walk to the lake every evening now, casting my line where Sarah and I once did, grateful for the fight that brought us all back together. The water sparkles, free and unclaimed, just as it should be. End.